युहन्तः पविश्यं वाचं मां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं गुरुं हि स्वयं सत्यः प्रज्ञाभक्तिविनीतयः विहिप्तिश्चापि वृता नित्यं तं गुरुं प्रणमाम्यहं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Verse 43. मूढाः केचन शुक्रबीजसहिताः योनिं भजन्ते तनोः स्वीकाराय यथा श्रुतं कृतमनुष्ठाणुत्वमन्ये पुनः सुप्ते देवगणे एष पुरुषः जागर्ति कामान् सृजन् यत्रेदं भुवनं श्रुतं तममृतं शुक्रं बृहद्वेत्तु कः। एकोऽग्निः प्रतिरूपवान् बहिरभूत् लोकं प्रविष्टो यथा रूपं रूपमथानिलश्च भगवान् सर्वान्तरात्मा तथा। सूर्यो लोकविलोचनं नयनगैः दोषैर्न लिप्तो यथा सर्वात्मा पुरुषश्च लोकसमलैः एको न लिप्तस्तथा। एकोऽयं परमेश्वरः सकलगः सर्वान्तरात्मा वशी स्वात्मानं बहुधा करोति भुवनाकारेण मायावशात्। ब्रह्माद्याखिलचेतनेप्सितकरः नित्यस्वबुद्धौ स्थितं यं ये पश्यन्त्यमुमत्र यान्ति तैमे शान्तिं सुखं नेतरे। मन्यन्ते तयस्तदेतदिति च निर्देश्यमुच्चैः सुखं जानीयां तदहं कथं विधिबुधः धिया सूर्येन्दुवग्न्युर्विद्युतोऽत्र नलसन्त्येनं ह्यनुद्योतते। सूर्येन्दुवग्न्युर्विद्युतोऽत्र नलसन्त्येनं ह्यनुद्योतते। भान्तं सर्वमिदं रुचास्य लसति ब्रह्मैतदेशोऽस्म्यहम्। Now repeat. मायाबीजभवस्पृहं वुकलितः मायाबीजभवस्पृहं वुकलितः मायाबीजभवस्पृहं वुकलितः ब्रह्माङ्कुरः प्राणभृल्लिङ्गस्कन्दधरः ब्रह्माङ्कुरः प्राणभृल्लिङ्गस्कन्दधरः ब्रह्माङ्कुरः प्राणभृल्लिङ्गस्कन्दधरः सुरादिमतनु शाखस्त्रयीपत्रभृत् सुरादिमतनु शाखस्त्रयीपत्रभृत् शाखस्त्रयीपत्रभृत् सुरादिमतं शाखस्त्रयीपत्रभृत् नैकात्मा विषयप्रवालकलितः नैकात्मा विषयप्रवालकलितः नैकात्मा विषयप्रवालकलितः यज्ञादिपुष्पस्सुखैः 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 दुःखैश्चापि फलैर्युतोऽखिलजगन्निडश्च भूताण्डजः दुःखैश्चापि फलैर्युतोऽखिलजगन्निडश्च भूताण्डजः युतोऽखिलजगन्निडश्च भूताण्डजः. I think we'll stop here. So this verse 47 which we read, the subsequent one, as I was mentioning in the previous classes, basically bring in the content of the commentary of Bhagavad Pada, elaborate commentary, beautiful prose, written on the first mantra of the sixth Valli of Katha Upanishad. We also saw in the previous class as to what could be the basis of this kalpana that we find here. This kalpana seems to have been very old kalpana, and it has found its basis in Upanishad. Further in Smriti, Bhagavad Gita, we find the same kalpana. And then we found a little more elaborate version in the Purana, which we saw in the previous class. Now we will take up the Bhashya as well as the way Rāmarāya has paraphrased the Bhashya into these verses. That is what we will look into. As I mentioned, this prose is a very beautiful prose. So those who have the prose of the commentary with them, please take. I'll just read one sentence and then we will move further with the verses as well. So in the previous class, so I said this vriksha, so the samsara is described as vriksha. So that is the metaphor here, samsara vrikshaha kidrishaha. So when we say the samsara vriksha, so it includes our experiences, mental experiences as well as the physical world around. So this world that we see and the world of experiences that we have, both of them have their own basis. So this physical world that we see has Brahman. So Brahman, which is the primordial cause of the Jagat. And as far as further when we break down our own experiences are concerned, we create our own world, etc. There we build what is known as Vasana. So all of them are nicely brought into this Kalpana, so in various ways. So we will see how brilliantly it has been built. So this samsara vriksha, so one has to understand that this vriksha is anadi and ananta in one way, and it can be santa for the individual who has acquired this atma jnana in another way. So we have to understand this very clearly. So that is why if you look at even in Bhagavad Gita, what is the verse? Urdhamulo dhashakha, urdhamulo vakshakha, urdhamulamadhashakham ashvatham prahuravyayam. So what is described here, samsara vriksha? Then how do you describe as avyaya? So avyaya only in this sense that it may be santa for a purusha, but it continues in its own way functioning, and therefore avyaya. That is how we have to understand this ashwatha. So both these descriptions seem to be contradictory, but it is not. From different viewpoints, they can be very easily understood. So here, if we look into, then we have this, right? Ashwatham prahuravayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastam veda savedavit. It moves on. Now here, if you look at the mantra here, urdhvamulo vak shakha yesho shraddhas sanatanaha. So you find the phrase similar to that phrase sanatanaha here. Now it is also described as vrikshaha. So therefore let us read the commentary. Vrikshascha vrashchanat vinashwaratvat. I leave one or two sentences, then we take off, right? So then we have a long sentence. So we saw the explanation partly for this sentence. We will take a few more phrases now. Those who have bhashya should follow this. Avichinna janma jara marana shokadyanakanarthatmakaha. So this phrase gives you the hint. Avichinna. You understand? Sanatana. Avyaya. So it just goes on. Avichinna janma jara marana shokadyanakanarthatmakaha. So for a person, I mean, this will end. But as such, jara marana shoka, this will continue. Avichinna janma jara marana shokadyanakanarthatmakaha pratikshana manyatha svabhavaha mayamaricyudaka gandharva nagaradivat drishtanashta swarupatvat avasanecha vrikshvadabhavatmakaha kadalistambhavan nissaraha anekashata pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha. See, kadalistambhavan nissaraha, up to that we actually saw in the previous class. Now anekashata pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha. So if you remember, I think in one of the classes we actually had this derivation for the word pashanda. Very good. Palanachyatrayi dharmaha. Repeat. Palanachyatrayi dharmaha pashabdena nigadyate. Tam shandayanti te yasmat.
Tam shandayanti te yasmat. Tam shandayanti te yasmat.
Tasmat shandayanti te yasmat. Tasmat pashandina. Pashandas tena hetuna. Very good. Pashandas tena hetuna. Pashandas tena hetuna. Pashandas tena hetuna. So basically it means trayi dharmaha. So you have to understand, I am just bringing this for two reasons. Here also you see in the Rāmarāya's verse trayi patra bhrita, right? Towards the end of the second quarter of the verse, we find trayi patra bhrita. So we also find chandamsi yasya parnani. Patra refers to the leaves in the tree. We will come to that in a moment. So, anekashata pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha is a phrase that has been presented here. So, this is something which we need to very clearly appreciate. So, here what happens is in this samsara, there are different people who drive us crazy. So, sometimes even when discussing with our own students, see, we find this, okay. So somebody has injected some idea into their mind as to what should be the goal, etc., etc., in spite of having some kind of a background, So that drives in, and therefore they get crazy. That is why we said, no, we have this, what is it? Shukanāsopadesha.
Which one?
We had the third sentence, right? Yauvana prabhavecha. See, so there is three sentences I'll tell you. There is something very beautiful. Anekashata pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha. This is, there is some Shukanāsopadesha. Vanabhatta has written a beautiful work called Kadambari. So there is a section called Shukanāsopadesha. This pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha means the samsara, so is sort of polluted by these pashanda buddhi. Okay. Pashanda buddhi basically means those who completely discard the well-established paths of the Vedic scriptures. This is essentially pashanda buddhi. Okay. Even Buddhists sometimes are described as pashanda buddhi because they completely do not take the scriptures as valid things. Anyway, that is one aspect. Now, pashanda buddhi vikalpaspadaha means the buddhi has been split into various things. I'll just give you three sentences. The Shukanasa says, Garbheshwaratvam Abhinava Yauvanatvam. You repeat. Garbheshwaratvam.
Garbheshwaratvam. Garbheshwaratvam.
Abhinava Yauvanatvam.
Abhinava Yauvanatvam. Abhinava Yauvanatvam.
Apratima Rupatvam.
Apratima Rupatvam. Apratima Rupatvam.
Amanusha Shaktitvam Cheti.
Amanusha Shaktitvam Cheti. Amanusha Shaktitvam Cheti.
Mahatiyam khalvanartha parampara. Mahatiyam khalvanartha parampara. Mahatiyam khalvanartha parampara. What does he say? There are four things he lists. Garbheshwaratvam. As this fellow is born, he is born with a silver spoon. Garbheshwaratvam. Abhinava Yauvanatvam. He has just become youth. Garbheshwaratvam in itself causes some problems, we have seen. Abhinava Yauvanatvam adds to that. Okay? Abhinava Yauvanatvam. Apratima Rupatvam. Okay? This Apratima Rupa is a very special phrase. Means this beauty is something which is incomparable. Many people think that they are beautiful. See, although nowadays I see some interesting things. So when we go to some places, if there is something, so then I have one photo is okay for remembrance. But they stand like this, they stand bend their head like this, then they put something else. The over 20 photos are being taken. I have seen this. Anyway, so this is Apratima Rupatvam Amanusha Shaktitvam. See, so you have powers. Amanusha means you have powers which are not enjoyed by normal people. So he says, Mahatiyam khalu anartha parampara. Mahatiyam anartha parampara. This is something which, a sequence of things which can lead to disasters. Mahatiyam khalu anartha parampara. After that. Sarva vinayanam.
Ekaikamappyesham.
Sarva vinayanam. Repeat. Sarva vinayanam. Sarva vinayanam.
Sarva vinayanam.
Ekaikamappyesham ayatanam.
Ekaikamappyesham ayatanam.
Ekaikamappyesham ayatanam. So he says, Sarva vinayanam ekaikamapi. Each one of them, which I have listed now. Sarva vinayanam ayatanam. it can bring in enormous amount of inhumility into the person. Sarva Avinayanam, which essentially means bad conduct. Sarva Avinayanam Yekaigamapyeshamayathanam Kimuta Samavayaha. Kimuta Samavayaha is the phrase. What to speak of if all of them are clubbed in one individual? So this is essentially primarily addressing a Yuvaraja. So this is something which is a beautiful thing. So the wise minister calls the boy and then says, in a manner that fellow will never feel hurt, but he will get the message. So that is how it starts. So he says each of these four things by themselves can put this person down. What to speak of when all the four are there, one has to be extremely cautious. Why did I bring this? The next one is Yauvanarambhecha.
Yauvanarambhecha. Yauvanarambhecha.
Shastrajala. Prayaha. See, Prayaha is another phrase. Prayaha Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi. Prayaha Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi. Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi. Kalushyamupayati buddhihi. Upayati buddhihi. Kalushyamupayati buddhihi. Just understand with your own experience. He says, generally, Yauvanarambhecha, it can start even at the late teenagers. Yauvanarambhecha. Prayaha, generally this is the case. What is the case? Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi is a beautiful phrase. The mind which has already received enough samskaras and has been made clean through the waters of Shastra. Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi Kalushyam Upayati Buddhi. It gets polluted. Understand? So Yauvanarambha, so that is a very natural thing which is happening. So the poet has brilliantly captured. So this is just one single sentence. So why I said this was, it just came to my mind because of this phrase, Anekashata Pashanda Buddhi Vikalpaspadaha. See, you may be trained in a particular way that you might have studied. By your own family background, you would have cultivated some virtues. But this Yauvanarambha, so Dushta Sahavasa, line of thinking may get completely changed. And therefore he says, Yauvanarambhecha Shastrajala Prakshalana Nirmalapi Kalushyamupayati Buddhi. Something will come and shield. You will not listen to parents. You will not listen to wise people's advice. You will keep arguing. So this is what he means by Pashanda Buddhi Vikalpaspada. See, so it becomes the source of all this. Okay, so that is the phrase. Anekashata Pashanda Buddhi Vikalpaspadaha. Then he says, Tattva Jijñāsubhihi Anirdharita Idam Tattvaha. Tattva Jijñāsubhihi Anirdharita Idam Tattvaha. So even those people who are pursuing what exactly is the truth, Anirdharita Idam Tattvaha. So they see, after all, if you look into even the corporate world, various laws will be upheld by various people at various points of time. At a later time, so this doesn't work, therefore we have to switch to this, right? So Anirdharita Idam Tattvaha, the samsara's functioning is like that. Sometimes you want to just uphold this, sometimes you want to uphold something else. Okay. So this we can see in the economic principles in various other things also. Tattva Jijñāsubhihi Anirdharita Idam Tattvaha. Once and for all we will not be able to say something. This is what will work. Okay. Okay, now somebody sent me a link about this monk debate. Some debate. So there are two groups of people. One fellow says, so we have to somehow end this war. The other fellow says, no, we have to somehow finish Russia. Okay. There are two different. Anirdharita idam tattvaha. Okay. Then Vedānta nirdharita parabrahma moola saraha. Vedānta nirdharita parabrahma moola saraha. One thing is for sure, that for this universe there is a moola, and the moola is Parabrahma. So we will not get into that. Then there are some interesting phrases that we have. Avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. Avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. So this is where we find Rāmarāyakavi beginning his verse. It is this phrase that he has taken into. See, Maya bija bhavaha. The first phrase has this. Avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. After that, apara brahma vijnana. See, apara brahma vijnana kriya shakti dvayatmaka hiranya garbhankuraha. This is the second phrase that we find in the verse. Maya bija bhavaha. Rather, third phrase. Okay, so there is one, we will come to that. Spriham bukalitaha. Maya bija bhavaha spriham bukalitaha brahmankuraha. The third phrase, brahmankuraha, that we find here in the verse has its basis in apara brahma vijnana kriya shakti dvayatmaka hiranya garbhankuraha. So in the vriksha kalpana that he is trying to make, what forms the bija, what forms the sprout, and what forms the water, what forms the stem, what forms the branches, what forms the tree, and so on and so forth. This is what we will see. So bijaha basically is the seed. So what is the seed? He says the maya bija bhavaha in the verse. So here we find avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. So this is a very tightly packed phrase. So there are several factors that play into it. So you call it as avidya. So avidya actually drives in a certain kama, and kama drives in some karma. Okay, and that actually is in some avyakta form. So that actually gives rise to this. Okay, they are all in sukshma forms there. So therefore he says avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. Then the next phrase is, so after bija, so what is to come? In fact, in our own Siddhanta, if we see, so why is this samsara manifesting in various ways, at various points of time, in one's own life, in the linear time also. So this is, we say, it is essentially phaladātruttvena, for the phala to be experienced, right? So it is in this sense. So this starts, this bija in the form, so sprouts, so and then so it comes to flowering and so on and so forth at a later stage. So that is how we have to understand this phrase avidya kama karma avyakta bija prabhavaha. Then we have this phrase apara brahma vijnana kriya shakti dvayatmaka hiranya garbhankuraha. So we have something called samashti and something called vyashti. So this phrase hiranya garbha I have explained at some point earlier, so I will not dwell. So it is described as jnana shakti and kriya shakti samashti. Okay, so that is the phrase that he employs here. Then what is the stem? So So here Sarva Prani Linga Bheda Skandha. We find a similar phrase in Ramaraya's description. Towards the end of the first pada, it starts. See, Pranabhil Linga Skandha. One single word. Pranabhil Linga Skandha. The word Linga here refers to the Linga Sharira. Linga means some Sukshma Sharira, not the Sthula one. So he uses Pranabhil Linga. So Pranabhrimatrasya Linga Skandha. So Linga is the Sukshma Sharira. The Sukshma Sharira is something which will be pervading across various janmas. So that we need to understand. Sthula Sharira comes and then Sthula Sharira goes. But it is the Sukshma Sharira that remains, which keeps transiting from Sharira to Sharira, and therefore that forms the stem. So the stem metaphor, the main branch, the main stem. Okay, so that's what is meant by Skandha. So Skandha in a tree is the main stem that. So in Skandha we find various kotara. Okay. So after that we have various shakhaha. So that will come. See, in fact, in Ramaraya's sloka, soon after that we find this Suradimatanu Shakha. Suradimatanu Shakha. So from stem he moves to various branches. So Suradimatanu Shakha. So here we have to understand, from the Sukshma Sharira, Sthula Sharira is taken at various points. So he is describing the various Sthula Shariras as Shakha of all beings. Okay? Not only Devadi. So here the word Sura means Deva. Suradima Tanu. See, Tanu means physical Sharira. Understand? That is why the Sthula Sharira. So Sukshma Sharira gives rise to various Sthula Shariras. If you conceive of a huge tree, stem will always remain, the main stem. So there are various branches at various points, they will just fall off, that kind of thing. So here, Suradimatanu Shakha. Then we find the phrase Trayi Patra Bhrit. Trayi Patra Bhrit. Trayi Patra Bhrit means Trayi is Veda. So Vedas are described as Parnas. Okay, I will come to this phrase. This we find even in the Bhagavad Gita. Chandam Siyasya Parnani. Okay. Before that, one phrase which has been left out is Spriham Bukalitaha. Right? Spriham Bukalitaha. So Spriha means Trishna, Asha. Tadeva Ambu. So Kalitaha here should be understood as Yuktaha. Okay. So Spriham Bukalitaha. Oh. In fact, in Bhagavad Pada's description also. See, the next phrase is that only. Tat Trishna Jalaseka. See, Tat Trishna Jalaseko Bhuta Darpaha. Understand? Tat Trishna Jalaseka Udbhuta Darpaha. So Tat Trishna Jalaseka Udbhuta Darpaha. See, how does the tree get nourished? So here he is saying, so there are various Trishnas which pour into various kinds of ashas. So that actually nourishes and makes the stem more stronger. Okay. And the branches also keep spreading. So that is why he is saying Tat Trishna. This Tat is an interesting phrase which can be understood to be indicating the multivarious forms of the desires. So which arises in an individual and in multivarious ways in various places. So tattat trishna jalaseka udbhuta darpaha. Udbhuta darpaha is a metaphor. Okay, it becomes more and more strong. Tattat trishna jalaseka udbhuta darpaha. This trishna brings in let me just tell you this verse. Tattat trishna. This has been brilliantly brought out right at the beginning. I'll tell you. In Bhartrahari, repeat. Udkhatam nidhi shankaya.
Udkhatam
Nidhi shankaya. Udkhatam.
Udkhatam nidhi shankaya.
Kshititaram.
Kshititaram.
Dhmata girer dhatavaha. Dhmata girer dhatavaha. Dhmata girer dhatavaha. Nistirna saritam patihi. Nistirna saritam patihi. Nistirna saritam patihi. Nripatayo yatnena santoshitaha. Nripatayo yatnena santoshitaha. Nripatayo yatnena santoshitaha. Santoshitaha. Nripatayo yatnena santoshitaha. Mantraradhana tatparena manasa. Mantraradhana tatparena manasa. Very good. Radhana tatparena manasa. Nita smashani nishaha. Nita smashani nishaha. Nita smashani nishaha. Praptah kanavarathakopi. Praptah kanavarathakopi. Praptah kanavarathakopi. Praptah kanavarathakopi. Namaya. Praptah kanavarathakopi namaya. Trishne sakama bhava. Praptah kanavarathakopi namaya. Trishne sakama bhava. Trishne sakama bhava. Trishne sakama bhava. I think that is the verse. I'll tell you. See this tattat trishna jalaseka. That is what reminded me. So here he is describing the various kinds of trishnas. Udkhatam nidhi shankaya. Udkhatam means digging. So you make various drills into the earth. Nidhi shankaya. Nidhi shankaya means I may get something, I may get something, I may get something. Okay. This is not, something, this should have been there for thousands of years. The people have been trying to take some more and then smelt, right? Which rock you have to smelt to get which, we don't know. So this is what he is trying to describe. Udkhatam nidhi shankaya. So you take some kind of a stone which will be used for cement. You take some other kind of a thing for copper. You take some other thing for iron. Some other thing for gold. So this has been happening. Udkhatam nidhi shankaya. This is one thing. The other thing is, so in those days, people used to store inside the earth. So you keep digging. So where will I get? Udkhatam nidhi shankaya kshititalam. Then he says, Dhumata girer dhatavaha. Girehe dhatavaha. So from various mountains, you take some ores. Dhumataha means melted. Okay, so you keep smelting them. Dhumata girer dhatavaha. Then he says, Nistirna Saritam Patihi. Saritam Patihi Nistirna. All are driven by desires. So you move from one place to another place in the water body for several months. Nistirna, you have crossed the ocean. Okay? Nistirnaha Saritam Patihi. Then he says, Nripatayo Yatnena Santoshitaha. With great difficulty, I have tried to please my bosses. Nripatayaha Yatnena Santoshitaha. Then he says, Mantra Radhana. See, some people will say, I have been trying to please my advisor. I have been trying to please my boss. In different places, different ways. So here he says Nripati in those. Nripatayo yatnena santoshitaha mantra radhana tatparena manasa. Then we also find people. If I do this mantra this many times, I will be benefited by this. So it can be for material upliftment, it can be for spiritual upliftment, but mostly it is material things. I will do parayana of this for gaining this. So mantra radhana tatparena manasa. He says sometimes they go to extreme levels. So this is also there. You go to extreme conditions and perform this, not remaining at home. It is also true. That is why he is saying Nita Smashani Nisha. You go to Smashana Bhumi. It's not remaining in the house environment or ashrama environment, but go to. But Smashana is where bodies are cremated. So you go to Nitaha means spent. Okay. Nishaha Nitaha. Smashane Nishaha Nitaha. Nita Smashane Nisha. Ultimately he says Prapta Kanavarātako Pinamaya. Ultimately, when I think, ponder back, not even a piece of kauri was obtained by him. This is a poetic way of saying. See, Kana Varataka. Varataka is a kauri shell. A small bit of it. Kana, from that. Kana Varatakopi Namaya Prapta. Ultimately, I didn't gain. So I did all these things, but it was all futile. So you, Trishna, you have been driving me. Okay. Trishni Sakama Bhava. Having driven me to all these situations, may you be at least happy now. Don't drive me anymore. Trishni Sakama Bhava. See, Tat Trishna Jala Seko Bhuta Dharpaha. Sometimes if it is, then Dharpa will increase. Various things we have. So this phrase that we find, Spraham Kalitaha. So Kalita can be understood in various ways. So here, simply in the sense of Yuktaha, so associated with that. So now let us read the commentary of the first half of the verse as given by Rāmarāyakavi. Okay, so go to the commentary part. Maya. So first he says, Avya Kritameva Bijam. Okay, in the commentary part. So we read the first two lines, right? Avatarika not right. Okay, we'll read. from the Avatarika. Nanu adrishtasya brahmanaha katham satvavadharanamiti shankayam yatha loke tūladarshanena adrishtamapi vrikshasya mūlam asti ityavadharyate तथा संसारवृक्षदर्शनेन तन्मूलस्य अदृष्टस्यापि ब्रह्मणः अस्तित्वम् अवधार्यते इत्याह मायेति. So what does he say? Tula is the phrase. So Tula darshanena adrishtasya brahmana. So you keep on talking Brahma, 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 Sat Swarupa, Sat Swarupa. I don't see. Adrishtasya brahmana katham satvavadharanamiti shankayam. Okay, suppose you say it is a live wire now. How do you know? I don't see. Keep your hand, you will see. So similarly, from certain things are known. Different things are found by different ways. So, nanu adrishtasya brahmanaha katham satvavadharanamiti shankayam. If there is a doubt, sattvasya avadharana, nishchaya. See, that there is something which forms the basis, which remains forever, irrespective of the changes that are happening by transforming itself into various forms. So, this is how we have to understand. There is something Sat at all times. Sat at all times. Suppose you have your laptop. So your laptop, as long as it is functioning, you will use. So after that, what will happen? So you may dump it. After some time, somebody will carry it. Then I see in a shop nearby the house in Mylapore. So that fellow will break. So keyboard will be separated, that will be separated. Then IC board will be separated. IC board he will just burn. Okay, some sections of it he will burn. So why does he burn? So he will just take out the plastic, will burn, and then some metal will remain. Now, whether it is in this functioning state or it is being in the burnt state, so the sattvam is anuvartate. Okay, it has just moved into various forms. So here sattva vadharanam. So the entire universe you can just think of something which is continuously changing. So it may be changing in forms, but there is some satswarupa which is there. So sattva vadharanam iti shankayam. So should we assume an entity which is permanently there? Then he says, yatha loke tūladarshanena adrishtamapi vrikshasya mūlam asti ityavadharyate. So in this universe, tūladarshanena yatha mūlam asti ityavadharyate. By seeing this external form, as you understand that there is a root for the vriksha, see, tūladarshanena. So the other day I was explaining, so Tula Purani basically. So something which is manifest, which fills in. So you see this tangible form. Tula darshanena adrishtamapi tasya moolam avadharyate tatha samsara vriksha darshanena. Means, so the way we see the various experiences undergone by various people, and the way we see the samsara which is moving in various forms, tanmoolasya adrishtasyapi. So here, how do we understand? So karmana phalam anubhoktarya. So there is a karma, you just associate. You just move on various things. Okay. Tanmoolasya adrishtasyapi brahmanaha astitvam avadharyate ityaha. So avadharyate ityaha. Mayati. So maya avyakritameva bijaha. See, avyakritam means something which is not physically seen, okay, in a manifest form. Now you have to understand Maya. So it can be conceived as forces in various invisible forms. So Maya avyakritameva bijam tasmad bhavatiti Maya bija bhavaha. From that, this samsara vriksha is seen. That is the bija. Spriham bukalitaha Trishna jalayuktaha. The various desires to keep the samsara afloat. Spriham bukalitaha tattat Trishna jalayuktaha. Then there is a mistake here in the printed text. So you have to break. Mistake means, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All of them have been put into one big compound as it were. It is not the case. Brahma, you have to split. Then Hiranyagarbha, you have to split. Evankuraha, the next word. Then Yasya Saha Brahmankuraha. This is how you have to understand. There are 5 splittings have to be done. Brahma Hiranyagarbha Evankuraha Yasya Saha Brahmankuraha. So Hiranyagarbha is the sprout. This is Samashti Sharira. Therefore you call it Hiranyagarbhankuraha. Then comes Pranabhrilingaskandadharaha. He explains this. Pranabhritam Praninam Yani Lingani. Linga should be understood as Sukshma Sharira. That is why he is saying Lingani Sukshma Sharirani Tesham Eva Skandhanam Dharaha. Which means, so the Sukshma Sharira of all the pranis. This will include Devas, Manushya, all things. Tiryaks. Okay. So therefore, Pranabhriti is the word that is used. So Pranabhriti is true not only for Manushya Sharira, it is true for all other Shariras also. Pranabhriti, even the trees and so on. Pranabhritam Praninam Yani Lingani Sukshma Sharirani Teshameva Skandhanam Dharaha. Right? After that, Suradimatanu Shakha. Suradimatanu Shakha. The word Adima is an interesting thing that he has created. I mean, this is we have this word Antima, Adima, etc. coming. So how do we understand this? Adau Bhavaha Adimaha. Right? See, Adau Bhavaha Adi Bhavaha. Tasmad Bhavaha Tad Bhavaha, you can say. So now Bhavaha can be used. See, Tasmad Bhavaha, you don't have this option of replacing that. Only for specific words. Tasmad Bhavati. Okay. Adau Bhavati. So that there is a special suffix for a few words. So there is a Vartika. See. Agradipascha Dimach. Repeat. Agradipascha Dimach. Dimach. Agradipascha Dimach. Antacha. So you have the word Antimaha. Antimaha means Ante Bhavaha. Ante Bhavaha, Antimaha. Adau Bhavaha, Adimaha. So in this sense, this Dimachi will go. The Da will get dropped, you will get Ima. Okay, remaining. So Agra, Adi, Paschad. Okay. So then Antacha. So these are all there. So that he has used here because he needs that letter. Otherwise the meter will not fit. Otherwise it will be fine. If he simply says Suraditanu Shakha, that will be fine. He needs that. Suradimatanu Shakha. Okay. So the branches are the Sthula Shariras. The stem is the Sukshma Sharira. The branches are the Sthula Shariras. Suradimatanu Shakha. Then he says Traipatra Bhrit. Traipatra Bhrit. This is a important thing. Traipatra Bhrit. I was just thinking, today our understanding that the patra forms the most important part of the tree for making the tree live, grow. Understand? See, for the sustenance of the tree, patra is essential because that actually creates the necessary processes that are required for the tree to nourish itself and grow. So for the sustenance of the tree, patra is required. Similarly, for the sustenance of samsara, what is required is Veda. Traipatra Bhrit. Okay. So if they are not maintained properly, see, if they are not there, then this will perish sooner or later. So that is the idea. Chandamsi yasya parnani. In fact, this has been nicely brought out by Bhagavad-pada himself in the commentary of the verse which we quoted from Bhagavad Gita, Chandamsi yasya parnani. So there he says, I will just tell you this small commentary I will read now. Tasyaiva samsara vrikshasya idam anyad visheshanam. Which one? Chandamsi yasya parnani. Anyad visheshanam. There he says Chandamsi yasya parnani. How do you understand this? Chandamsi itself, he says Chandamsi chadanat. Chadanat chandaha. Chadanat means it sort of protects you. It's a layer. Chadanat chandaha. Chandamsi chadanat. Rigyajusama lakshanani. Yasya samsara vrikshasya parnani va parnani. As if they are. Okay. Now further he explains in Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, Yatha vrikshasya parirakṣanārthāni parnāni. So parirakṣanam is protecting, paritaha. So for the protection of the tree, Yatha vrikshasya parirakṣanārthāni means it essentially sustains growth and all that. Yatha vrikshasya parirakṣanārthāni parnāni tatha vedaha samsara vriksha parirakṣanārthāh. Similarly, the Vedas are basically helping in protecting the samsara. So this is something which is extremely important. So even Satyam, Vada, Dharmanchara and so on, all these things which have been vague. Samsara vriksha parirakṣanārthāh, and he uses a phrase Dharma dharma tadhetu phala pradarshanaarthatvat. Dharma dharma tadhetu phala pradarshanaarthatvat. It is this Veda which tells you what is dharma, which tells you what is adharma, and what is the cause for dharma, what is the cause for adharma, what is the phala of doing this dharma, what is the phala of doing this adharma. So all of them are brought out by the scriptures. When we say Veda, so all the subordinate things which are associated with that Vedanga, so all the Chaturdasha Vidyasthana basically brings out. See, once this is well understood, there is no other Parirakshana that is required. Why would we need any other Rakshana? So once these bhavas that are presented in the Veda are inculcated by the human being, Satyam Vada Dharmanchara, Swadhyayan Ma Pramadaha. So there are various things which are stated. Once they are there, that is all. So that itself will protect. That is why we say Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita, larger principle. So here he is saying, so Dharma protects you. And how do you know Dharma? So through this. Therefore it says, Yatha Vrikshasya Parirakṣanārthāni Parnāni Tatha Vedaha Samsara Vriksha Parirakṣanārthāha Dharma Dharma Tadhetu Phala Pradarshanārthatvat. So this is a very beautiful phrase that we find in the commentary there. See, Chandamsi Yasya Parnāni. Okay. So we'll stop here and then we will continue in the next class. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahavirjam Karavavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Sarve Sukhinas Santu Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhav Bhavet.